The steel handcuffs were cinched so tightly around my daughter's wrist that I could already see blood pooling where the metal bit into her skin. The man wearing a black sleeveless tactical vest had grabbed her while she was unloading groceries from the trunk, snapped the cuffs on without warning, and now refused to remove them as my 19-year-old daughter, Emma, screamed in pain. My name is Adam. I am 47 years old, and I've been a criminal defense attorney in North Carolina for 18 years. I know unlawful detention when I see it. I know false imprisonment. And watching some thug restrain my daughter while claiming HOA authority ignited every protective instinct I had into a cold, focused fury. I burst through the front door and crossed the driveway in seconds. 2 more men in matching black tactical jackets stood behind the one restraining Emma. Their unmarked silver SUV was parked across the street, engine still running. Emma was sobbing, twisting her arm, trying to pull away, her wrist already swelling and turning dark purple where the cuff had been tightened far too much. "Get those handcuffs off my daughter right now," I said. The man holding the key wore a name tag that read Enforcement Captain Sheffield. He was in his 30s, broad-shouldered, with flat, emotionless eyes that showed zero concern for the pain he was causing. "Your daughter interfered with an official HOA inspection," he said calmly. "She refused to comply with a lawful order. She remains detained until our assessment is complete and payment is received for violations." "Dad, I just asked what they were doing on our property," Emma cried through tears. "He grabbed me and did this. It hurt so bad." I stepped directly between Emma and Sheffield. "You have 3 seconds to remove those handcuffs before I call the police and have you arrested for assault, battery, and false imprisonment." The second man, shorter with red hair and a name tag reading Officer Kowalski, raised a clipboard. "This property has $12,000 in outstanding HOA violations, unapproved landscaping, unauthorized driveway modifications, failure to submit architectural review documents. Your daughter obstructed an inspection. We have authority to detain interfering parties. There is no HOA in this neighborhood," I said. "I verified that before purchasing this property. I am an attorney. I know exactly what crimes you're committing right now, and every second those cuffs stay on my daughter adds time to your prison sentence." The third man, older with gray hair and a tag that read Officer Petrov, pulled out a tablet displaying documents that looked official at first glance. "Property was annexed into Brookfield HOA last month. We have county filings and authorization to enforce compliance." I pulled my phone out and began recording. "I am documenting this. You have handcuffed a 19-year-old girl on private property while claiming false authority. Remove those cuffs immediately." Sheffield dangled the key inches from Emma's face. "Maybe if your dad cooperates and pays the $12,000, we'll consider releasing her. Until then, she's detained for obstruction." Emma whimpered and tried again to pull her wrist free. The cuff wouldn't budge. I could see the injury worsening by the second. I dialed 911 without breaking eye contact. "I need police immediately at 847 Ashford Lane in Brookfield. 3 men have illegally handcuffed my daughter. They're claiming fake HOA authority and attempting extortion. My daughter is injured and needs medical attention." The dispatcher confirmed officers were on the way. Sheffield's expression hardened, but he still didn't remove the cuffs. "You're making this worse," he warned. "Calling police on official HOA enforcement will result in additional fines." "You are not HOA enforcement," I said. "You are criminals. And because you're using physical restraints on a 19-year-old as intimidation, you're now facing enhanced felony charges under North Carolina statutes." Kowalski and Petrov exchanged nervous looks. Petrov began edging back toward their vehicle. I turned to Emma. "Sweetheart, stay calm. Police are coming. This will be over soon." "Dad, please make him take them off," she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "Remove those handcuffs now," I said to Sheffield, "or I guarantee you will spend the next decade in prison. I am a criminal defense attorney. I know exactly what you're doing, and I know exactly how to prosecute it." Sheffield tightened his grip on Emma's arm. "She stays cuffed until we're paid or the inspection is complete. You can argue legality in court." 2 Charlotte-Mecklenburg police cruisers pulled up moments later, lights flashing. Officers exited immediately. The lead officer, a sergeant named Torres, approached fast. I showed him my phone. He watched the footage of Sheffield putting the cuffs on Emma. "Get those cuffs off her right now," Torres ordered. Sheffield tried to posture. "Sergeant, we're conducting a lawful HOA inspection." This individual interfered. "We have the right to detain." "You have no authority to handcuff anyone." Torres cut in. "Remove those cuffs now, or you're under arrest." Sheffield hesitated, then reluctantly unlocked the handcuffs. Emma collapsed into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably, her wrists swollen and bleeding. I held Emma close as she cradled her wrist against her chest. The skin was torn, deeply bruised, and swelling rapidly. Blood had seeped where the metal had cut in, and the damage was unmistakable. I held her tightly, forcing myself to keep my rage under control. Officer Jackson immediately called for an ambulance. "Those injuries need medical attention right now," he said. As paramedics worked on Emma, Sergeant Torres separated the three men and began questioning them individually. I handed over my full recording and provided a detailed statement outlining every crime that had occurred. I also gave Torres my business card and explained my background in criminal defense. "These men assaulted my daughter," I said. "They used physical restraints to cause pain and fear, and they demanded $12,000. This is organized criminal activity, and I want maximum prosecution." Torres nodded gravely. "We are treating this very seriously, especially given the extent of her injuries." Their Silverado was searched thoroughly. Inside, officers found stacks of fake HOA documents covering at least 8 different neighborhoods. There were multiple sets of handcuffs, zip ties, tablets loaded with forged county filings, mobile payment equipment, and a handwritten notebook listing target properties with notes about which homeowners appeared easiest to intimidate. It was a well-organized operation. Detective Harris from Major Crimes arrived and assumed control of the investigation. The 3 men were arrested on the spot. Brandon Sheffield already had prior convictions for assault and fraud. David Kowalski had a criminal record that included domestic violence and extortion. Alex Petrov had previously served prison time for identity theft. Emma's wrist required 12 stitches and treatment for nerve damage. The emergency room physician documented everything carefully and noted that the injuries were consistent with prolonged, excessively tight restraint. Watching my daughter endure that level of pain, knowing it had been inflicted deliberately, hardened my resolve to make sure those men were held fully accountable. Detective Harris soon uncovered that the group had been operating for over a year across the Charlotte area. They specifically targeted young women whenever possible, relying on physical intimidation and restraints as scare tactics. Emma was the 7th young woman they had handcuffed during their fake enforcement operations. Most of the victims had been too frightened to report what happened. I contacted the district attorney's office directly. I provided a complete legal breakdown of every statute violated, recommended appropriate charges, and offered assistance with prosecution. District Attorney Michelle Parker was furious, particularly about the pattern of targeting young women. "We are pursuing every possible charge," Parker said. "Assault, battery, false imprisonment, extortion, impersonation, terroristic threats. We are also examining hate crime enhancements based on their victim selection." The trial took place 8 months later. Emma testified about the pain, fear, and humiliation of being handcuffed in her own driveway by strangers pretending to have authority. Her testimony was devastating. Medical evidence showed permanent scarring. Prosecutors presented video recordings, testimony from 6 additional young women, and overwhelming proof of systematic predatory behavior. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours before convicting all 3 men on every count. Brandon Sheffield was sentenced to 15 years in state prison. David Kowalski received 13 years. Alex Petrov was sentenced to 12 years. The judge made it clear that targeting young women with violence warranted maximum punishment. "You weaponize fear and pain against vulnerable victims," the judge said. "You caused lasting trauma while hiding behind fake authority. This court imposes the maximum sentence available." Every victim received full restitution. Emma received additional compensation for medical costs and emotional trauma. The men were also ordered to pay punitive damages. 6 months after sentencing, Emma handed me her law school acceptance letter. "I want to do what you do, Dad," she said. Make sure people like them face consequences. I looked at the thin scar on her wrist where the handcuffs had cut into her skin. I'm proud of you, I told her, but I'm sorry you ever had to go through that. You protected me when it mattered, she said. You knew exactly what to do. That's what I want to learn. She was right. Sheffield and his accomplices would spend more than a decade behind bars. Emma would spend that time learning how to protect others. I still practice criminal defense, but now I take pro bono cases for victims of false authority. Emma is now in her second year of law school, specializing in civil rights law. Every case we work reminds us why standing up to predators matters. If anyone ever puts hands on you or your family while claiming authority they don't have, that is assault, regardless of the uniform or badge they display. Call 911 immediately. Document everything. Seek medical care if you're injured. Pursue every criminal and civil remedy available. These criminals rely on fear and confusion. They assume people won't fight back. Prove them wrong. Protect your family. Know your rights. And never allow violence to be used as intimidation. If you've experienced physical intimidation by fake authorities or have advice on protecting loved ones, share your story in the comments. Subscribe for more stories about defending families against criminals who hide behind fake badges.